The movie starts with a young boy named Steve. As a kid, Steve had big dreams of becoming the best miner ever. He loved exploring, building, and making things. But whenever he tried to enter the nearby mine, a cranky old man stopped him. There was a strict rule. No kids allowed, only adults. Years passed, and Steve grew up. However, life didn't turn out as he'd hoped. He ended up with a dull job selling doorknobs, day after day, feeling like his dreams were slipping away. One day, while eating lunch by himself, Steve remembered his childhood dream. With a sudden burst of determination, he decided to return to the mine. This time, nothing would hold him back, not even the old man who still guarded it. Steve pushed past him and began digging with all his might, as if he could reclaim the years he lost. Deep underground, he discovered two odd objects, a crystal cube and another called the creation cube. When he combined them, a portal suddenly appeared, leading to the overworld, a magical place where anything could happen. There, he met a pink sheep and used its wool to build 3 amazing houses, finally becoming the architect he'd always wanted to be. On his journey, Steve encountered a fierce wolf that tried to attack him. But with a juicy bone, he tamed it and named it Dennis. From then on, they were inseparable. Together, they created incredible structures and shaped the world however they wanted. Soon, all the animals joined them, living in harmony. Time went by as they built, explored, and discovered new things. One day, Steve found ancient ruins with a chest inside. In that chest was another portal, this one leading to the nether, a dark, twisted place where creativity didn't exist. It was home to piglins, greedy pig-like creatures who served a powerful sorceress named Malgolia. She had turned evil after a tough childhood. Once, she dreamed of being a dancer, but her own people mocked her, and her father disowned her, calling her a failure. Since then, she'd been fueled by hatred. Malgolia was obsessed with the creation cube, wanting it to control every world. But Steve, clever and bold, escaped with it. He gave it to Dennis with a mission: take it back to Earth and hide it where no one would find it. Dennis succeeded, stashing the powerful artifact under Steve's waterbed, keeping the main world safe as long as it stayed there. Years later, we meet Garrett Garrison, a young guy who shook up the video game world by starring in the popular arcade game. His incredible skill at throwing trash with perfect aim earned him the nickname the Trash Man. Fame brought him a $1 million deal, but it all crashed when he got an eviction notice. In an instant, he went from the top to rock bottom, completely broke. Desperate for a comeback, Garrett went to a local auction, hoping to find something valuable to sell. A staff member tipped him off about an old artifact said to be worth a lot. Curious, Garrett said he'd think about buying it if they could lower the price and let him inspect it. He won the mystery item for $900, agreeing to pay it off in 6 months. But when he opened the box, it seemed empty. Frustrated and feeling tricked, he slammed it shut, missing the creation cube hidden right in front of him. Too disappointed to notice, he complained aloud about being broke. Someone nearby overheard and suggested he stop chasing treasures at shady auctions. Meanwhile, we meet Henry and his older sister Natalie, who just moved to the city after their mom died. Natalie took a simple job to pay rent at their new place. They were welcomed by Dawn, A kind real estate agent with a warm smile. The next morning, Natalie made breakfast for Henry, a pizza to share with his new classmates, and gave him a bottle of cologne as a small gesture of care. Still upset by all the changes in his grief, Henry barely thanked her and left for his first day of school. Elsewhere, Garrett was clearing out junk from his shop when Henry walked in. The curious kid offered him a slice of pizza in exchange for advice. Garrett, calling himself a salesman of the game of life, jokingly said his wisdom cost $50 an hour. Then he got serious, saying, "Friends are like puzzles. Sometimes you have all the pieces, and sometimes you're missing just one. To feel complete, you can't be a team alone, but with one more, you can conquer anything." Inspired, Henry left the pizza and headed to class. At school, Henry met the principal, who gave him his name tag. During their talk, she casually mentioned her marriage had been lifeless for years, but they stayed together for their dogs. Later in class, the sarcastic teacher grumbled about hating his life. As a group project began, Henry messed up, placing a part wrong. Suddenly, their jetpack prototype went wild. At that moment, Natalie, working nearby, was startled when the out-of-control device crashed into her building. The principal panicked and demanded to speak to Henry's guardian. In a rush, Henry called Garrett, begging him to pretend to be his uncle. When Garrett heard Henry had $26 in cash, he agreed. While explaining things to the principal, Henry noticed the strange cube in Garrett's shop and asked about it. Garrett shrugged, saying he was selling it for $95 and had no idea what it did. Digging through boxes, they found an old manual with a bold warning. Curious and ignoring the warning, they decided to test it at an abandoned mine to see if it had power, unaware they were starting a life-changing adventure. Meanwhile, Natalie noticed Henry wasn't home. Worried, she called Dawn. Using a tracking app, Dawn found him at the old mine. They raced over and arrived to see something wild. The cube was glowing, emitting energy that pulled Henry toward it. Without hesitation, they grabbed him, and one by one, they were sucked into the portal, landing in the overworld. Amazed by this new world, Garrett bragged about being a gaming legend from 1989. They soon spotted the famous pink sheep watching them curiously. But they weren't alone. A villager who saw the portal had followed them, crossing to Earth, linking the worlds in a surprising way. In the nether, the piglins were tired of digging with no gold to show for it. Malgolia, furious, threatened to turn them into pork chops if they didn't find riches soon. Then she sensed the orb's portal reactivating. She confronted Steve, her prisoner, knowing he'd taken it. She let him go with a harsh deal. Return the orb to save his wolf Dennis. Back in the overworld, Garrett tried too hard to impress the pink sheep, asking for gold-finding missions. Nothing happened until Dennis charged in, howling, scaring the sheep back. Silence fell, but it didn't last. Skeletons, spiders, zombies, and creepers emerged, attacking fiercely. As everyone ran, Henry stayed calm, building defenses with blocks. To protect them, Garrett hid until a creeper exploded near him, dazing him. His scream gave him away, and zombies surrounded him. The pink sheep was captured too. Just in time, the group arrived to save Garrett. The fight raged until Steve appeared, skillfully defeating every enemy. As the sun rose, the zombies burned away. Steve said he needed the Orb of Dominion and offered a deal. He'd get them back to Earth, but he'd keep the orb. Without the crystal cube, safe travel was impossible. They'd need to retrieve it or find another way. Meanwhile, the villager who crossed to Earth was hit by the principal's jeep. Embarrassed and fearing a lawsuit, she played it cool, offering him dinner and saying, "Everyone's suing me lately, but you seem reasonable." Back was the group. They reached a peaceful village with curious villagers and met new characters. A legendary pig, a wise llama, and a strong iron golem protecting the place. They sat for a roast chicken meal cooked over lava. Steve warned it was hot, but Garrett, too proud to back down, ate it anyway, hiding the pain to look tough. In the nether, Malgolia, fed up with failure, summoned Chungus, her strongest yet kindest Piglin general. She told him 4 strangers had the orb and gave him a nether ward talisman to keep his troops safe, ordering, "Get the orb, no matter what." The group headed to a legendary mansion, accessing Steve's inventory full of tools and gadgets. They found an ender pearl for teleporting, but Garrett used it instantly, not knowing it was their only one. Steve taught them to craft tools from the world's materials. Garrett made a clunky weapon that barely worked. Garrett asked Steve about a rumored treasure from a note in the orb. Steve admitted he had diamonds hidden deep in the mines, far from the mansion, a dangerous trip. Garrett didn't hesitate, saying, "No diamonds, no orb." They set off for the mines, but piglins attacked. General Chungus greeted Steve politely yet menacingly. Steve took charge, but Garrett, jealous and wanting attention, swung his awkward weapon at Chungus, missing and hitting Steve instead. Chaos erupted, and the group split up. Natalie and Dawn teamed up, while Garrett and Henry separated, agreeing to meet at the mansion. Steve gave out 2 pairs of flight wings, then tackled Garrett, flying off with him in a thrilling chase, dodging piglin attacks and landing safely in the lake. On Earth, the principal enjoyed a date with the villager she'd hit, admitting her recent divorce left her with a dull ex. In the overworld, Steve shared Malgolia's past. She'd been a talented dancer, rejected by her father and her people, turning her against creativity. If she got the orb, she'd destroy the overworld. Steve needed it to save Dennis, still held by Malgolia. In the nether, Malgolia, enraged by Chungus's failure, unleashed the Great Pig, a massive beast with a new brain. It crushed Chungus in a rage, and Malgolia ordered it to fetch the orb. Meanwhile, Natalie and Dawn met Dennis. Dawn offered him a bone, gaining his trust. Knowing he was Steve's, they followed him, hoping to find the others. Underground, Steve, Garrett, and Henry reached the diamond stash. Steve smelled a nether ward. The Great Pig was near. He led them to a safe room via minecarts, but the redstone power failed, stopping them by a creeper farm. The Great Pig arrived, roaring. With no choice, Steve and Garrett triggered the creepers, causing a huge explosion. They escaped through the rubble, shaken. Henry yelled at Garrett for losing the diamonds, but Garrett snapped back. "I need them to stop being broke. You wouldn't understand, kid." Henry replied, "I'm a kid, but you're not alone. I'm your friend." Touched, Garrett softened, and they planned a mansion heist. Steve explained its 3 levels. Battle-trained villagers on the first, dark mages on the second, and Endermen guarding a crystal on the third. Villagers ambushed the adults, dragging them to an underground fight club. Garrett faced a tiny zombie rider on a fierce chicken, while Henry sneaked to the third floor. Facing Enderman, he fought bravely with his diamond sword, winning the teleportation sphere. Exhausted but close to their goal, they met Malgolia, who stole the creation cube and Enderman crystal, vanishing into the nether. Steve and Henry tried to flee, but Garrett stood firm, saying, "If I'm going down, I'm doing it with style." He triggered a huge explosion to stop her, scattering everyone. Dennis found Steve amid the rubble, and Henry survived too. They spotted a mushroom house Dawn had built, reuniting with her and Natalie. With darkness spreading, they fought back, crafting better tools. Henry upgraded iron golems with speed, creating an army. Malgolia laughed, but a piglin's attack sparked a war. She unleashed the Great Pig, but their ultimate golem, made from a secret alloy, clashed with it. Steve faced Malgolia in diamond armor, but her magic held strong. Henry reached the orb, while Natalie faced the Great Pig. Dawn, with tamed wolves, attacked it. The Great Pig hit Henry with a beam, but Garrett returned, saving him. They destroyed Malgolia's machines, tossing the orb into the abyss. The ultimate golem reclaimed it from the Great Pig with a final blow. In the last showdown, Steve faced a weakened Malgolia. She tried to stab him 3 times, but he blocked her. Instead of killing her, he left her to live with defeat. With the threat gone, Steve said goodbye. He offered Henry a life in the overworld, but Henry chose home. Steve gave Dennis's leash to Dawn for a peaceful life, hugged Garrett as a true friend, and thanked Natalie and Dawn. They stepped through the portal, and Steve followed to Earth. Days later, Garrett's shop thrived, and with the group, he launched a game based on their adventure. Dawn became an adventurer with Dennis. Natalie opened a self-defense school, and Henry fixed his jetpack, soaring high. The story ends, or does it? In a final scene, the villager and principal fell in love. He learned human speech, she learned villager, and he proposed, closing their tale. Smash that like button like it's a diamond ore. Subscribe and ring the bell like a village alarm. And don't forget to share this video with your Minecraft buddies.